Hi and welcome to the channel. My name's Gav and today we're talking about the F-One Plume. Look, we've all seen winging, we've all seen power winging and we've seen kite foiling, and this is a hybrid of all three. Look, how does it work? Who's it for? And is it any good? Well, if you stick around, we'll answer those questions. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to remind you that this channel is focused on raising money for Bear Cottage, the children's hospice based here in Sydney. It's all about paediatric palliative care 24 hours a day, and they need our help. If you like and subscribe, share this video, it really helps us generate a revenue through advertising. Now, with that in mind, I want to do a shout out to the brands that are supporting me along this journey. And that's Armstrong, North, WSS Boards, the Foil Board Company, and Code Foils. Thank you, you're making a massive difference, I really appreciate it. Okay, so my first impressions when I got it out the bag, pumped it up and threw it in the air was, it looks a bit like a training kite. It was very gutless to fly, easy to maneuver, there was no two ways about that, but I just felt there was a real lack of power, and that echoed on the water, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, as you'd expect, the build quality throughout is excellent. The bar is finished, it's refined, and it's very high quality. And the connections and the materials, you can see it comes from an established kite brand. They've been doing this a very long time. They know what they're doing. And in terms of the actual performance of flying it, it turns very well. Very, very easy to use. I think I could give it to my 7-year-old and he'd be able to have a really good time on the beach, which is really nice to see, especially if they're going to be focusing this towards the beginner market. So moving to the on-water experience, well, the first time I used it was actually on a proper downwind run, a shuttle downwind run, which I do not recommend when you're trying a new power wing. The only reason I did this was because there was a lift on offer. I had the opportunity and I took it, which is a bit foolish if I'm honest with you. The wind was around 25 to 30 knots. And again, I wasn't sure whether that was going to be too much, too little. It was a little bit of a stab in the dark. What I did do was pack a power wing in a pouch just in case it all went wrong, that I could bring that out and replace them. In terms of equipment used, I was using the 75-litre Armstrong mid-length. And for foil, I was using the Code 80cm mast with a 980S on the front. That's kind of my go-to power winging setup at the moment, particularly if the bumps aren't very big. So initially, I found it really hard to get up onto foil. I was using the same technique for power winging, which is basically 90 degrees to the wind on a reach, and it just didn't have enough power. It was sitting too far forward in the wind window to generate enough power to get going. Obviously, it's not like a kite where you can do sort of S turns to be able to get the power. It just sat at the edge of the wind window and wouldn't generate anything to get up onto foil. After a while, I changed my technique and I started actually just heading downwind and allowing it to pull me up onto foil, and that worked really well. Now at the start, I couldn't really figure it out, and if I'm honest with you, I wasn't really enjoying it. I was messing around with flagging it out behind me like you would do on a wing, and it was just getting in the way. It really just didn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden it clicked. I turned it upside down as if you were carrying a kite on the beach, and then it all made sense. I was able to turn downwind. Yes, look, it still got in the way a little bit. And if I'm honest with you, I don't think it's suited to doing actual proper long downwind runs. The reason why I say that is because the flapping of the wing actually got a little bit annoying after about 5 or 6 minutes. Now, that all being said, when I got to the bottom of the run and then started going back upwind again, it all made sense. It goes upwind like a rocket ship. It's really easy to use and it depowers incredibly well, way better than any power wing that I've used so far. Then I was able to do the same maneuver, flip it onto its back and hold it and ride downwind and really enjoy the downwinding just for short periods of time. I could then redeploy it, which again has a very different technique, flipping it back onto its top and then grabbing the bar and then off you go again. The other thing that I found that was really good with it is that you could actually fly it and downwind at the same time. It's completely out of your way. and it doesn't depower like a power wing does. It just sits there really happily so you can learn how to read the bumps. I think this is a great learning tool for somebody trying to get into downwinding because it's not going to get in your way. It feels really safe and secure, and you don't have the risks associated with dropping a power wing into the water and trying to deploy it again. Now, the caveat to that is that you definitely need a good strong breeze with this thing. I think anything less than 20 knots, you're really going to struggle. So considering it's got a really high top end, in fact, in the gusts of 35 knots, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. This is very much focused towards a windy location or a very windy day. In terms of size, I was using a 4 meter, and I can tell you that I would have been completely overpowered with a 4 meter power wing or indeed a 4 meter wind wing. So who do I think this is for? Well, if you're into your downwind sends, joining the shuttles with the downwind sups, then I don't think this is for you. You can't pack it away into a small ball and ride downwind bumps like you can a power wing. For me, this sits on the self-positioning upwind downwind. As I alluded to, it needs to be windy, but I also think it's very user-friendly. So beginners are going to have a great time as long as you go out in the right conditions. You can really refine your downwinding and in fact learn how to do it for the first time without having a wing or a power wing get in your way. It definitely felt less sketchy than a power wing. I felt in control the whole time. I don't know whether that's because I've got a lot of kiting background, but at no point did I feel like I couldn't get it back up into the air again if it fell down. Interestingly, I think this will also work really well in waves. I didn't give it a go in waves, but I think it will flag out quite nicely, and I don't think you'll have the same consequences of dropping it into white water than you would with a power wing that has potential to sink. So in conclusion, this is a really fun bit of kit. At the beginning of the session, I wasn't very sure, I wasn't sold on it, but when I found its area where it worked really well, I had a great time. Now, I'm not going to rush out and buy one of these and replace all of my power wings because I love the idea of packing something away and then riding with nothing in your hands. That for me is a real sense of freedom, and I don't think that replaces it. However, this definitely has its place, and I think it would be great for a really windy location or for people trying to learn to downwind or indeed learn to get into power winging. It definitely requires a different technique to power winging, but I do think that technique is easier and you'll get up and going in the right conditions much earlier. So there you go, there's my first impressions of the F-One Plume. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, type away in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the water again soon.